Hey guys, so we are going to briefly run through this week several tools that we can use to cut things out. And we're going to talk about what we want and what we're looking for when it comes to cutouts. So I found this picture of a guy in a library cracking some books, as you do if you want to succeed in life. And we're just going to drop this into Photoshop. You can drop it in from your Google, or you can drop it in from wherever, like your File Explorer, or you can press open and find it on your computer. So I would say the easiest tool to use to start off with when it comes to making cutouts is your Lasso Tool. So you got your Lasso Tool. Now if you had, like, say for instance, some kind of, I don't know, like a tablet or a drawing pad that you could use to control your mouse, this might be handy. But as it is, it's really hard to do this with a mouse, trying to get a clean cutout of something. So the Lasso Tool by itself isn't super useful. If you can kind of see what would happen if I tried to complete this and then maybe move it, you can see it's really ragged and looks disgusting and I hate it. Alright, so I'm just going to deselect this. The way we deselect things is going over here to select and press deselect, or you can hold down the control button and press D. This is actually kind of an interesting thing. If ever you find yourself unable to, say for instance, draw anything or erase anything, oftentimes what's happened is you've got a little tiny selection somewhere, and if ever you find that nothing's responding, you can always go over here to select and press deselect, and then you could probably do stuff right there. Okay, there you go. Okay, so the lasso tool isn't super handy, but the magnetic lasso tool is. And I found that it works really well if, say for instance, the person that you're trying to cut out or the object you're trying to cut out has a lot of good contrast between the background. Because essentially what this does is it looks for differences between the different pixels, and it tries to cut between the differences between the pixels, a little threshold, a little border between these different pixels in here. So what I found is handy is if you get in real close, like zoom in, hold down the Alt key and roll up with the mouse wheel, and just, hold down the space bar and navigate someplace, and you just click once, and it forms a little point, and you sort of hover around, and it tends to create little reference points. And if at any point you find that you have gone someplace that you don't want to go, you can hold down. You can just press the escape button, and it'll take you away from there. And say for instance, I was going kind of this way, and then I want to say it kind of went that way. So I'm going to see if I can't kind of click my mouse button, and maybe click it over this way, trying to retrieve it back on, kind of redirect it back onto the line I'm trying to get it to go on. So if at any point you see yourself drifting off course, you can kind of click and it should bring you back, but it's okay because what we're going to do is going to come back to this and we're going to clean it up before we get done. So at any point you see I'm coming up here to the top of the screen. I'm going to hold down the space bar and drag it back down. Try not to move my mouse too far away from where I'm at. Let go of the space bar and I should be able to continue on. There's a lot of white here, so it might actually not follow along all that well. But I'm just going to slowly hover around here, and as you get better at this will go faster. But I'm going to hover around here and try to get this as clean as possible. And I'm just going to move around here. And this is a real good way of getting a initial cutout of your person. So I'm just going to hover over on his head. I chose this guy because he doesn't have a whole lot of real wispy things. He doesn't have a wispy beard. He doesn't have wispy hair that's wisping out into the ether. He's just got kind of a helmet of hair and a pretty solid denim jacket here. Okay, I'm not really sure what happened there. I'm going to hold down Control and Z here. I don't think anything's going to happen. All right, I'll just keep it going here. I'm going to come fix that in a second. So I'll just hover down towards the book, hover around the book. There's not a lot going on there. You can see that the white of the book and the white of the background kind of blended together, so I wasn't able to capture that all that well. Down on the canvas is a bag. I'm going to get down here and notice this, that I'm at the bottom of the page here. So if I just double click, it should just make a little line going across. Now, if I were to move this out of the way, which I don't go too crazy with this. If you just move this out of the way, you can see a couple of ragged lines along the bottom, and you can see some sort of bits of the background, some ragged lines right there, where kind of divoted in. These are the things you don't want. These little divots and these little lines that kind of come in, and you can see we've got a little color cast on his jacket there, and we can see we've got a little divot into his neck, which is going to be hard to walk off. And then we've got a couple things kind of going on over here with the library book that he's got. Oh, and this little stripe right there. All those things are things we don't want. So let me just move this back to where it was. Control Z, Control Z. Oops, Control Shift Z to get back. So undo is Control Z, and then Control Shift Z is redo. So the magnetic lasso tool is super handy for getting your initial cutout. But it's not all that handy for cleaning up your cutout, because once again, you are left with the same tools that gave you that cutout in the first place. So I'm going to, let me see here. I'm going to go over here to my layers menu, and I'm going to see if I can unlock this layer here just by tapping this little padlock icon. And if I go over here to the layer filtering, I don't want that. Filter for pixel bars. I'm going to go over here to my keyboard, and I'm going to hit the letter Q on the keyboard. And you notice something happened here. This created a little bit of a mask, and the mask, this little red sort of area, essentially the red area is not selected, and the clear area is selected. So this gives me a great opportunity to kind of go in and sort of clean this mask up. So I'm going to get my brush tool, and I'm going to set my brush to be, maybe 50% in terms of the hardness here, because I don't want it to be too like diffuse on the edges. I want it to be pretty, solid on the edges. I might size it up just slightly. And if you have it set to black, that basically turns on the selection, right? Turns off the selection rather. So if I were to say, for instance, like, move this in and then press Q, you can see this, this selection is here. I don't want that. I'll just undo that. And so I'm going to basically undo that again. And I'm going to change this to white. White will get rid of the red, which will, pull my selection in. So I'm just going to see if I can't zoom in a little bit and get like the hem of the little side of his jeans here. Actually, that's not right at all. I'm just going to get down here across the bottom of the screen. I think we're good on the bag for the most part. There's a little bit of white peeking out right here, so I'll just flip this around to black. If you hover over here, you can hit this little switch foreground and background color, or just tap X on the keyboard. And I'm going to shrink my brush size down by holding down the close square bracket, which is next to the letter P on the keyboard. So just click on that, see if I can't pull that there, and just sort of bring that back. I'm going to hover around the edges here and see if I can't just sort of, okay, so here we go. Let me get back to white. So X on the keyboard to get back to white. And I'm going to shrink this down some more, trying to get this in and just get this book fleshed out here. And I don't think I want this white right here, so I'll press X on the keyboard to get black again and sort of solidify out this edge here. So I'm just moving around. There's a bit of white here. I think I can probably deal with that, but I do want to get rid of this little selection here. So I'm going to get a big selection so I don't miss anything. And same here. Just kind of rubbing through this. I'll just switch out this way. Okay, there we go. X on the keyboard again. I'm just sort of switching back and forth between black and white, trying to clean this up some. I'm seeing some white right here, so I'll just X on the keyboard to get black again, shrink this down real tiny, get rid of this white. We don't want anything bright white next to anything kind of dark and shadowy. The little stuff on his chin might stand out a bit. So see if I can't get rid of that. You definitely want to pick your mouse up a good deal, because, oops. If you start getting into a lot of changes and then don't pick your mouse up and then you make a mistake and you have to undo it, then you end up losing a lot of progress. Okay, here's that. If you get the idea, obviously you can fast forward until I'm done and we move on to the next step here. And this is a great way of getting your selection real clean. without having to worry about making any real, finalized changes here. Okay. Almost done. Here we go. Get rid of this. Almost got it. There we go. Cool. Looks good right there. It's hard to tell where this jacket, ends and like the white of the background begins, but you can kind of tell by some, little clues here or there. And I don't want anything jagged, so I'm going to see if I can smooth this out. Looks like I just about got it. Oh, here we go. A little bit of his elbow on this jacket here. This is sort of a shadowy area of his sleeve. I'm going to press Q real quick just to kind of get an idea of what I'm missing. Here we go. Q again. I'll come back to this. One of the wonderful things about Photoshop is it gives you multiple views to look at your whatever it is you're working on here. Q again. Okay, I don't think I quite got that right. X on the keyboard to Q on the keyboard just to see what's going on here. Looks like I need to kind of pull this in some and then pull this in some. Smaller. Once again, the little square brackets will change your brush size, and then holding down the space bar will allow you to move around your page. Okay, this is looking better. Q on the keyboard just to see what's up. Right, there we go. I think we got it. Okay, so we've got two options now of making a cutout. We can either just take this and sort of move it around and, do something else with it. Obviously, that's an option, which, it's an option. But I would say the best way and the most, practical way is to simply mask out everything else. So if you look down here at the bottom of your screen, or your little window here, you should see this little flag of Japan looking thing that says Add Layer Mask. If you click on this, whatever you have selected, it remains visible, but everything else around it disappears. So with that done, now I have this guy who's just chilling out, and he just looks like a guy, and I can do all manner of things with him. If I click on this right here, and I just right click on this, I can click on this. I can just flip him around. I can move him to the other side. I can shrink him down. I can skew him, warp him, make him look different ways and stuff. And what's awesome about this is that none of what I do actually removes anything from the previous layer. So if I were to say, for instance, click on my layer mask, you notice that the area that's invisible is black and the area that is visible is white. If I get my brush tool here, I could just roll on in and say, for instance, maybe I want to get rid of some of this, color on the side of his jacket. I want to pull that in some. I can just click on black and get my brush tool here, and just sort of kind of come in real close and sort of pull some of this back. If I want to get some of this, if I want to, bring some of the original picture back to it, like say for instance, maybe more of his, sleeve here, or this little strap for his bag, I can just change it to white, and I can kind of paint over that, and I'll bring back some of what I see in the original photo. So it's a neat little tool, this layer mask, to get yourself, get your guy where you want him to be. So let's just shift him to the side. You can flip him over. You can pull him to this way. You can pull him that way. I might just flip him over horizontally again, and maybe put him to the side here. And let's go ahead and hit this little half moon picture here, and let's choose a solid color. And from there, let's just choose any old color we want, like say for instance, I don't know, green, like a minty green. And let's just move this layer down to the bottom of the thing here. And then from here, you can just say something like books are great. And then you can just put your name down here. What's your opinion on books? Do you think books are great? Because they are. If you don't, you know, put out your other opinion. And then from here we could just pull this up, make this bigger. We don't have to hold down shift. We used to have to hold down shift to make things not be stretchy, but now we don't have to anymore. So here we have a cutout with a little message. Look at that. So this is a pretty cool, clean cutout here. Nothing seems amiss. So I'm just going to leave that the way it is. What we're not looking for are anything from the background, anything distracting from the background. There's a little bit of color cast on his sleeve here. That's okay. And there's a little bit of, like, you know, white here or there from, you know, just the rim light that was applied to him. But if we see anything, like anything flagging out or anything, you know, divoting in, then we're going to lose points. So make sure that we're avoiding anything like that. And yeah, so go ahead and save this as a JPEG. If you want to save this as a Photoshop thing first and just call this cutout 1, we can do that. I'll just save that as a Photoshop document. Then when we save it, you save it to your downloads and save it as cutout 1, last name, and then make sure you choose JPEG, like so. And then when this comes up, make sure you have set this to the maximum quality, press OK, and then you should be able to see it in your downloads. Let's go here to downloads. Here it is. Voila. All right, well, can't wait to see you guys produce. I'll see you guys in class.